I'm a Stoic.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius says,
Yes.
you've got to get out of bed every morning. You can't lie in your nice warm bed. You must get up and make the day happen.
This is the first time we're starting to film before time.
Well, maybe you can say that.
Benjamin, you said 8, so
I understand. I'm saying it's 7:57.
So you can say that on the show.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make you look good. Rob, I know you're a bit late, but welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, we can start officially. Rob, I'm so excited to have you back in the big bad city of Joburg and to have you here on Konvo. Used to be the Penuel show. You were one of our first few guests, which means absolutely everything to me. You've made me a person in certain circles. It's a real thing, and it speaks to the power of who you are, your family, your achievements globally. So I just want to thank you and all the friends you've introduced me to with no expectation. I know I get accused of a lot of, being a puppet of the Hersov family and the likes, but officially I just want to say thank you. You didn't have to at all. And maybe we'll speak about it at some point, but how are you? How's the family? Your parents more than anything.
Yeah, thank you.
I think they're the most important people here.
Ask. So my dad is 99 this year.
Jeez!
And
What
my
a soldier.
Mum's 91. And I saw them 2 days ago. I saw them yesterday. I'm seeing them this morning. And on Sunday evening, I went by, they were having dinner at home, our beautiful home in West Road South. And Dad was sitting at the table in his shorts and his T-shirt, and he got up and gave me a big hug. Isn't that amazing?
You're blessed.
98, turning 99 this. I'm blessed.
You're blessed.
And my parents are still married, and they're still living in the house that I was born in. I mean, who gets that sort of love and luck and privilege?
Yeah, that is privilege.
That is privilege.
That's what you call privilege.
Yeah, it's love privilege.
Thank you, Rob. How are you doing? Is the rest of the family good? Your boys?
Yeah, Alex is in Miami building a paddle business. Luke's in London working on a software hedge fund business. I want him to move to America because I think Europe's finished, but we can talk about that later. Okay. And then the younger kids are at Herschel and Bishops. And, I'm back to standing by the rugby field and shouting at the ref saying, you don't know what you're doing.
Tell your grandfather to shut up.
Exactly. And then Katie, I've got big news on my wife. For 12 years, she's been building her business. It started off as MediKids. She's a doctor and a business person and a capitalist. And she built MediKids up as a business that explained illness and health to children in a way they could understand.
Yeah.
Great business, but it pivoted all over the place, and I kept having to invest, and it brought my friends in. And the problem is, whenever they have a funding round, if I didn't invest, no one else would invest. So every 2 years, I have to put more money in.
So that everyone else can jump in.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't invest. But anyway, it went through hell, and Katie kept, she moved it to America, hired professional management, blah, 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 blah. We sold it last year.
Brilliant.
Many, many, many million US dollars.
Congrats to Katie.
She sold it.
Congrats to Katie.
So I'm a kept man now.
I've met her. She's a stunning woman. She's very focused. You can even see when you're around her. And I know me and her were very sad when we lost by a point in the Springbok, in the World Cup final. But hey, what can we do?
What can we do? So she's well and she sends her love.
Maybe let me start here. Because you've introduced me to so many of your friends and your networks. Many people have asked me, and I'm going to ask you, why me? I've met so many young white people, especially very progressive, very talented white boys who would do anything to have you as a contact, to speak to you. Why me? Why not another black person, especially in politics? Why not a colored person, et cetera, et cetera? In your view, at least. I have mine.
Pen, I don't see color. And I know people always say that, but I do not see color. Do you know how you and I met? A friend, a New Zealander who'd lived in South Africa and moved to New Zealand, sent me this clip. And he said, Rob, this is really interesting. You should watch it. And it looked like you were in the Karoo under a tree. I don't know where you were. I've never asked you. But it was like you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Rob Hersov and, what all the stuff that I'd said. And even though you got some of it wrong from my perspective, I thought, what an interesting, intelligent human being. Mm-hmm. I'd like to meet him. So I sent a message to 15 or so people, said, listen, I'd like to meet this guy, Pen.
Yeah.
Does anyone know him? And then one guy in Joburg said, yeah, I know someone who knows him.
Yeah.
And that's how we connected. And I called you and you went, is it really Rob Hersov?
Sure.
I went, yeah. And we met. And it was from there when I saw you on air and thought, what a fascinating person. I want to meet him. And we just became friends and brothers from day one. And we do disagree on things, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think you're an extraordinary human being. And I love what you do and you deserve your success. And the only major thing we disagree on is you still support the All Blacks. And it breaks my heart. The rest of the stuff is just, talk.
You guys almost won me over. I won't lie. I'll be honest. The Springboks are currently my favorite rugby team.
Okay.
It's just because of legacy. Legacies.
But you got to get over that.
Look, there's a reason why I love the All Blacks. I don't want to speak about them. Yeah. And it's beyond the history of apartheid. I was born in 1986, so I can't say I experienced it that deeply.
Yeah.
I didn't support the All Blacks because of apartheid and because black people were excluded. I loved rugby growing up, and they just had the best quality of game. It was literally that. And when you looked at their humility, growing up in the Zulu kingdom, they are so humble. Anyone who's played against them speaks about that. Even in defeat, the way they are, the way they carry themselves, the beauty of the haka.
And the Springboks weren't like that.
They weren't like that. That is correct.
They were aggressive and you're right.
Yeah, and
but
they've
rough. Become like
they've
that.
They've become something.
They've become beautiful.
Very beautiful. So,
but what if an ox came in here? Wouldn't you feel terrible, like hugging him and knowing you still support the All Blacks?
I wouldn't feel terrible because I support and I love the Springboks very much. Yeah, okay. I don't hate the Springboks. I wanted to wear the green and gold, so it's just maybe I don't know. I'm probably already a Springbok full supporter, and maybe Gayton McKenzie and those guys are still holding me on, and we'll see.
But let me raise this topic. So apartheid, we got rid of apartheid 30 years ago.
Yeah.
A deal was done.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people say, it was a bad deal or whatever. A deal was done, deal was done.
Yeah.
And in business, you shake hands, you do a deal, that's it, you move forward. And a lot of people aren't prepared to move forward. It's been 30 years.
Yes.
And we're still talking about more racial laws and more nonsense, okay?
Yeah.
And Gayton McKenzie stood up and said, there's a sell-by date.
For excuses.
Yeah. And we keep harping back to apartheid 30 years ago. I mean, the ANC's been in charge for 30 years, and can we swear on your show?
Please.
And they've fucked everything up.
That's correct.
The ANC have fucked. They've destroyed every state-owned enterprise. They've fucked everything up. We have the highest unemployment rate in the world. We put a lot of money into education. We get the worst results. I mean, they just cannot run a piss-up in a brewery.
Jeez.
They are so useless.
We'll get into politics just now.
So I think 30 years, you can't keep blaming apartheid and can't keep talking in racial terms. Can't I get you over that?
Me?
Yeah. I think racism is a pigment of the imagination.
Hey.
I've been dying to say that.
Is that your line?
I've been dying to say that. I've got it
in. We'll get into politics just now. I wanted to just confirm, there's a video I made. It trended. It caught your attention. Any other young person, I meet a lot of business people that would love to connect with you. And I unfortunately have to turn all of them down because it would be too much. I haven't vetted them. I don't know who they are. I'll end up annoying you. Then you'll end up being like, if Pen's calling me, it's probably introducing me to some clown. So I refer them to your websites and I'm like, look, make enough noise. Catch my attention maybe so that it becomes easier. Watch The Lion Cage, etc. But the advice to other people is do something that is meaningful, has an impact, and that will catch people's attention. It then becomes easier for even myself. Let's say someone else made a video being like, this is how I feel about Rob Hersov. I'd share it with you. Then you'd be like, look, can you connect me to this person, etc. Or
make
better, build a business, make a change somewhere is how you meet people like yourself.
So Pen, I haven't got time to look at concepts anymore.
Yeah.
Some guy says, I have a good idea. Okay, because inspiration without perspiration is just hallucination.
Boom.
Gosh, I've been managed to say that for a while too.
You brought bars.
Out of the air. I must have had too much sleep. But it's too hard for someone to say, I have a good idea. Because from a good idea to a successful business, there's a long road. So take your good idea and try it. Find a way to launch it. Yeah. And if you generate revenues, if you get customers, and particularly repeat customers, so if somebody signs up for your service, your membership, or buys your product and then buys it again, well, then I'll have a look at your business. But without revenue, without sales, I haven't got time to look at just ideas.
You're still an investor? You still believe in funding? Less so.
Partly because Katie said to me, I'm doing too many things.
Correct.
And, I'm probably on the spectrum, if something exists, of I did the ADHD test online and I scored 100%. I was like, you are the most ADHD 64-year-old. But I don't think ADHD is a disease.
Yeah.
I think we're just creative and energetic in different ways.
That is correct.
I've learned how to use mine. But I was doing too many things. So I've cut back massively.
Yeah.
And the business projects that I'm working on 2 massive projects.
Yeah.
And I actually can't mention either
Fair
because it
enough.
might affect them. But they're massive. If either come off,
We're going to be rich.
we're going to be richer, more rich.
Oh,
And
okay.
more
We're going to be rich.
So, no, massive projects. Both
Yeah.
are, funnily enough, South Africa related.
Beautiful.
And one is in the Bitcoin mining area. I'll
Hey.
tell you that, with Stafford Marzi. He's my partner.
That's the one. Stafford is the man.
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Have you met him?
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing him at 12:30, so come with me.
Okay. Brilliant.
He's a genius. And that is Bitcoin related.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Bitcoin a little bit today. But the second one I can't mention. And then Katie is building her new business.
After Medikits.
She sold what was called Jumo Health. It was
Okay.
changed the name.
Okay.
She sold Jumo Health and now she's launching a new business. And it's genius. But it's not for me to say what it is. And I don't think she's going to let me invest in it. Because I did on the first one. And when she sold the business, she said, how did you end up with a bigger shareholding than me, the founder? I said, because I had to invest every time you needed money. So she's like, well, I'm not letting you invest in my next one. So good. So our family have her project, my 2 new businesses, and all my current stuff. But I haven't really got time.
I need to apologize because from the last time we sat, both myself and you committed to creating a platform for mentorship. And unfortunately, time is the most precious resource and we just don't have it. But this is a challenge for anyone watching to be like, guys, if there are mentorship platforms out there that are working, that can connect, especially the older generations who maybe have money, to younger kids who have the desire, the passion, the energy. If there are such platforms, please bring them to our attention. We'll speak about them. We'll come and visit where we can. Please try and do the work that we wish we could have done. It's just we don't have the time. But thank you for committing to that. And thank you for being open about what you can and cannot do. It means a lot.
So if I can say something on a mentorship issue to people generally, there's so much information online. Free.
Yeah.
Just become the best reader of all of your friends. Read and read and read and read and read. Books. Just read everything. You can read fiction books. You can read old classics. Don't read self-help books, okay?
Yeah.
Or how to build a business book.
Sure.
But read the classics, and read. There's a list of the 100 best books in the world on every single website. And read as many of those as possible. Even Moby Dick about the whale.
Yeah.
Herman Melville. What a beautiful book. Read that.
Where do you get that from?
Just online.
Because you write poetry. You write articles. I see you're a huge fan of literature.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's credit to your alma mater. I know they're very big on the classics. Is it from home? The reading and the love for...
Yeah, but I grew up before television.
Okay.
Remember, South Africa only introduced TV in 1971. We didn't have black and white TV. We went straight to color TV. And so we read books. I mean, I read thousands more books than my children have at the same age.
Sure.
And they're all still there, sitting there. So read the classic books, advice number 1. 2 is the big technology development is AI.
Yeah.
Be the smartest person in AI. It's all free. Just go online and watch videos on AI. It's easy to learn. It's such a powerful tool. And that's my mentoring advice for the day. It's all there, so for free. So on the weekend when you're doing nothing, read a book.
Sure.
When you've got time on your hands in a taxi or a bus going somewhere, you download onto your device, read it or listen and study.
Thank you, Rob. The other thing I appreciate about you that people may not know is that you may disagree and debate and argue very passionately. You and I have been in WhatsApp groups together where at some point I piss you off and you leave. At some point you piss me off and I leave. But you don't just say, fuck this guy, he must go die. You actually go and you think about whatever we were debating and arguing. And you do the same with human beings. Yeah. There was a time you and I would have a small debate around Mpofu Walsh, mainly because of his dad. And at some point he was leaning towards the EFF. He seems more politically neutral now. You've been willing even then to still listen to him, to engage with him. I'm hoping at some point maybe you'll do the same with Duduzane Zuma. because also it's the link to his father, etc. But I appreciate that. You met recently with Sizwe. I just wanted to ask how that was for you.
I had a great interview with him yesterday.
Yeah.
And firstly, he's charming and intelligent.
Very
He's
intelligent.
very smart.
Yeah.
But he's a nice person. You get a feeling immediately. There's a cool guy, he's got real potential. But I had a lot of negatives in my mind in advance. One, the Mpofu name. I mean,
Yes.
Dali Mpofu is his dad.
Yeah.
And he's one of my least favorite people in South Africa. I think he's just a troublemaker. His aunt, I think, is Mpumi Mpofu,
Okay.
the head of AXA,
Okay.
who I think is a disaster.
You've had some problems with them.
Well, no, I just picked on her.
Okay.
It was me picking on her.
Fair
She's
enough.
done nothing wrong to me. She probably doesn't like me as a result. Fair enough. But she wants to nationalize banks, land and mines, which I think is the most moronic, destructive thing on the planet. Dali Mpofu agrees with that.
Yeah.
So, two relatives. But then, he's funded by the George Soros Open Society. And to any centrist capitalist, George Soros is the devil incarnate.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole lot of other stuff related to Sizwe, where he was 10 meters behind the start line before we even started. But then I listened to a lot of his podcasts, and the one with his mum was fabulous. And I learned that, the George Soros Open Society, he just applied for a grant and won it.
Correct.
They sent him the money in
It's like applying for a
2019.
Hersov grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got it. So, okay, tick, forgiven.
Yeah.
His mum was much more of an influence on his life than
Correct.
his dad. Tick. He says he has a soft spot for the EFF. I can forgive him for that. Okay. It's like, you watch clowns at a circus. You go, they're really fun. I enjoyed the clown show. EFF are the clowns, And when I met him, what a cool guy, And he admitted to me, he said, look, I'm sure you know I was part of the Rhodes Must Fall thing, which I think was just a nightmare. But anyway, he said, but, that needed to be challenged, but it went too far. And I really respected him for saying that because it's so true. For him to admit that, Trump got elected yesterday. Why? The world is saved. But he even said that the woke leftist ideology had gone too far.
Yes.
It was a race to the bottom.
Yes.
Everyone was trying to out-radicalize the next guy. And he's so right. He said the pendulum is now swinging back. It'll probably go a bit too far.
Sure.
And then eventually work its way out.
No, thank
thought,
you.
what a smart guy.
I appreciate you doing that. And I appreciate you sitting with them. And it's a reminder to myself and to many others out there that sometimes conversation, sitting down with some of the people that we have feelings for, because I know that's how people feel about Zuma. And there are many people that feel however they feel about you. And I could almost promise them, if you were to ever sit with them, you'd be the first person. I wouldn't ask anything.
No, please set it up.
You'd be the first person to come back and be like,
I like this guy.
yeah, he's not what I thought he was. And it's like, yeah, that's just media propaganda.
Do you know what Gayton said to me? He said, the problem with John Steenhuisen is he doesn't send a happy birthday message to Jacob Zuma. Because Gayton, wish him a happy, even though we're enemies politically,
Sure.
I send him a happy birthday message, or call him now and again, he calls me. We have a conversation, we can speak to each other. And John doesn't have that relationship. And he said, that's the greatest weakness of John and the DA.
Sure.
He said, there are people in the DA that have that, but they're not running the DA. And he said, okay, have you met Jacob? I said, no, I haven't met Jacob Zuma. He said, okay, hold on. Pop dials, puts him on speaker. He goes, Jacob, Rob Hersov. Jacob said, I've been waiting to talk to you and meet you and everything. Blah, blah. And he couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
So at some point, I would like to meet all of these people.
Sure.
I met Julius already, and I don't think I'm going to hear anything sensible out of that mouth.
Jeez, that's tough.
But I mean, I'd like to meet Floyd.
yes,
I'd get a
Floyd is
sense of
incredibly
him.
intelligent.
Yeah, I'd like to get a sense of these guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank
and
you.
I do agree with you. I think once you meet someone in the flesh, everything changes.
True.
You
were saying before we went on air that you and I were some of the first people that saw what now people are seeing in Gayton. Please carry on. Please continue.
So I met Gayton 3.5 years ago. A friend of mine in Joburg sent me a message saying, got to meet this guy. So I said to my secretary, Annette, put it in the book, I'll meet him.
Thank you to Annette, by the way. She's a beast. Thank you.
She, 30 years, she's saved my life. She and Katie, wow. And I was driving to the meeting, and I said to Annette, who's Gayton McKenzie? She said, I don't know. You told me to put him in the book. So I turn up at the meeting. He's arrives on time, and there's this big guy, gap tooth, tracksuit, brands all over the place. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But it was one of those 40-minute meetings that went for 3 hours. And when I walked away, I said, and it was like my meeting with you, I felt I've met one of the most extraordinary people walking this planet. And it just, boom, it's like same feeling with you, same feeling with him. This is an extraordinary human being, and I'm going to get to know this person better. And Gayton, for 3.5 years, I've been publicly saying, this is a kind of guy that should run this country, as have you. And people have been saying, you're insane.
Sure.
We love what you're saying, except for the Gayton thing.
Sure.
But those people have been converted now.
Of course.
Now I'm getting people of all shapes and sizes, I prefer saying that, saying he actually is a cool guy.
While I was listening to the inauguration speech by Trump, one of the things he emphasized is, we will put America first. Gayton, to a degree, Herman Mashaba, but Gayton, more than anyone, is probably the only politician I can think of in this country that openly speaks about putting South Africans first. Not opening borders, not worrying about, just saying, if it's not for the benefit of South Africans, then maybe we don't want to talk about it, or we need to renegotiate.
You've said 3 words that is really my narrative. The penny dropped when this young guy, Nick Agostatus, Bishop's old boy.
Hey, shout out to Bishops.
Shout out to Bishops. Came to me and said, Rob, I've been thinking about your narrative, and you're banging on at the ANC, but you also bang on data and capitalism versus socialism. But what you really are is South Africa first, SAF. So I think, Pen, you and I, Gayton and others, should form a loose organization that is South Africa first.
Yeah.
What is good for this country is what we should focus on. Whatever it is, we may disagree on things, but let's put South Africa first.
So one of the things I didn't get to say, I said I'd say it on camera, is my reluctance with what Gayton is doing now. I don't know if it's a mistake. So Gayton is currently Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. He's won over so many hearts. He fights for so many people, even outside of his portfolio. And he's won people over. But because our political game is so dirty and twisted, I almost feel he's doing a disservice to the Patriotic Alliance, which is his political party. And he may gain favor. Maybe Mangosuthu Buthelezi, General Bantu Olomisa come to mind, where he becomes this really great political legend. But his party doesn't grow beyond him. Because he's so focused on delivering on his portfolio, I don't know if he's got someone that's actually growing the PA to attract the type of talent that would then help him scale. It's been one of the wins in the past of the ANC that they could manage to attract talent, even if some of the leadership are pathetic. You'd meet some of the other people because the systems are so good. And if you focus on your work, it's this whole concept of working in the business versus on your business. If you focus too much on your work, the system itself, because what happens if Gayton is no longer minister? Is the PA growing? Is it on the ground? Is it scaling? So I kind of worry that in the amazing work he's doing, he might be doing a disservice to the political organization he belongs to in growing it the way it should, especially leading to 2026.
So true. I mean, I'll tell you who I voted for in the last election. I voted for DA, provincially, municipally, and I voted for Gayton as president.
Brilliant. Because you're in the Western Cape. So it kind of makes sense.
And that says it all. I think he would be the right leader for this country, but I don't think the PA is advanced, developed as a deep enough bench. It doesn't even have a bench. Do you know anyone other than Kenny Kunani?
Yeah, I was going to say, besides him and Kenny Kunani, there's no one else.
So I know Marlon Daniels, who runs the Northern Cape for the PA, but I happen to know him before I got to know Gayton. So he's a mate of mine from 7 years ago, and he runs. So I know him. I know Charles Salier, who's
he used to be in the DA.
He's PA.
But I'm saying he
was in the DA. Probably was, but he's excellent. And Eugene Gorta. And the PA has now at last set up a headquarters. They actually have a building that is PA in Durbanville.
No, it's a challenge to Gayton. Yeah. I hope he gets to watch this, or people at the PA watch this and they send this to him that, look, if you are too busy with ministerial work, which is brilliant, and he's killing it, please make sure you find someone. Obviously, they won't be you, but someone talented. No, not me.
What about you?
Find someone really talented to be doing the work on the ground, to grow the PA and to attract the type of talent that speaks to the type of vision that you have. Otherwise, you'll find yourself...
But the next elections are 2027.
2026?
No, it's February 2027.
Really?
You heard
local?
it here first.
Really?
Everyone thinks it's 2026.
Okay.
I know it's February.
2027.
And do you remember 6 months before the election, I said it was going to be May 22nd, and it was May 29th.
You did call it very early.
I called May 22.
But this is proof that you're a capturer. You're part of the deep state. This is what this is.
No, I just know who to call and I listen. I don't think there is a deep state.
So speak about the PA and their systems that need to be built and the attracting of talent. Julius Malema would attract amazing talent, in my opinion. Ndlovu, Floyd Shibambu, Advocate Mpofu, and many others. And all of a sudden, he'd get hemorrhaged. And he'd be losing almost all. Ndlovu is holding on by a thread. What are your thoughts, if you have any, on what's going on with the EFF?
The EFF's finished. It's over. It was always the crazy gang, the destructive, populist lunatics. It was basically the party for the unemployed radicals. And when they came and caused trouble in Brackenfell, a friend of mine, actually you know who he is, took a video camera to film the whole thing. And he ended up being in an area with 4 of the EFF guys who basically asked him for a job. The guys who were running around smashing things and breaking, they came and asked him, do you have a job? Jeez. The EFF is a pathetic organization going nowhere, and it's gone. It's finished. It's finished.
You don't think there's some strategy behind what's happening?
They never had a strategy. The strategy was use gangster cigarette money. I'm talking about. That's where that money comes from.
There have been rumors of, I think it's the Mazotti link.
Yeah, but 100%. Mazotti, gangster, illegal money to the EFF. But I think they're going to have to think about where they send their money now, because the EFF is losing power and disappearing and becoming irrelevant.
I wish Julius was willing to listen. I wish he could sit with maybe guys like myself. He doesn't have to take my advice. Number one, I'd want to just ask if this is strategic or if he's actually losing it, and get him to hopefully be honest. It doesn't have to be on a platform. It can be offline.
I heard he's lost a lot of weight.
You've lost a lot of weight, by the way. Shout out to you. Looking great.
Thank you. I take Ozempic.
Oh, is this something you say publicly?
Yeah.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. Okay. So he might be taking Ozempic as well.
My wife said you shouldn't tell people you're on Ozempic. I was like, well, I don't care.
Sure.
Yeah, he's probably on Ozempic.
You reckon? And stress, maybe.
Yeah, he's been stressed for a long time, hasn't lost weight.
I wish he could take some of us into his confidence, particularly because I'll say this. I've been a huge fan of Julius for a long time.
Why?
Since the ANC Youth League days. Julius represented back in the day a young African.
Angry.
Yes. And he was angry at not just white monopoly capital. He spoke about that a lot. But he was holding the ANC to account for young black people to be like, you guys told us a lot of things when we were young about what's going to happen with the land and the economy, and you're not delivering. And now when I raise it within the ANC Youth League, you guys are kicking me out, which is almost like, shut up. It's like young people are angry, and you guys are not doing us a service. Now, how he'd go about that is now where maybe we can then argue. Was he trying to build relationships with the white monopoly capital players that he was attacking?
White monopoly capital doesn't exist. That was a term created by gangsters.
Was he trying to take the country forward, or was he just a valve for angry people to say, you've got a home, if you're angry, this is the party for you? Or are we building something? Because they've promised building a school, they never delivered. They don't seem to be making any headway in unemployment, of which there are so many easy solutions. You start an EFF fund, and in that fund, you start investing in industry, and you say, these are the kids we've given jobs to. I mean, Gayton would do that when he was in the Karoo, to say, these are the small businesses. Those are easy wins. Or is he trying to do something else? Is it too much listening to the Marxism, Leninism? Is it idolizing other leaders who, yes, they were radical, but not just in words, but in action? Where's the radical action of, let's say, building the schools, doing the this, creating the that, to actually show people? And how do we
EFF's a joke, and has always been. They're just there for power and to steal. I mean, the VBS scandal is a good example. Julius is just an opportunist. If there was nobody on the extreme right of the country, he'd be going and being the extreme right guy. But he's the extreme left guy because there's a big space there. And he's finished. It's over, EFF. We should talk about MK. That's probably more relevant.
Please, your views on MK.
So MK is Jacob Zuma. It's the popularity of an incredibly popular guy. You know, he was the worst president you could ever want for this country. He basically just handed money to anyone who asked for it. He was like Father Christmas. But he destroyed everything that was being built, that was happening. The last 10 years, Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa have put this country backwards.
And Cyril.
And Cyril.
Okay.
But Cyril was the vice president to Jacob Zuma. He's got to take a lot of responsibility. I mean, he's useless.
Jeez.
Useless, and that's being polite. Guys, we have 32 cabinet ministers and 43 deputy ministers. We have 75 ministers.
And then there's DGs
Norway
as well.
has 9. Argentina has 8. So you can imagine the amount of money we're wasting. Why do we need a ministry of women? What the hell? What do they do all day? Do they come into the office at all, or they just fall asleep? I mean, what a waste of money. The Ministry of Women. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Please. But think about the waste at the top. And Cyril keeps appointing a 20-person policy committee.
Of course, he loves the committees.
I mean, what do they do? Nothing. Cyril is not a businessman. He wouldn't even know the difference between an income statement and a balance sheet.
Jeez.
The guy is useless.
Okay.
But, let me give a but.
Okay.
GNU. Should we talk GNU?
No, not yet.
MK.
We'll get to the GNU. I'm going to defend Jacob Zuma.
It's going to be hard. You can't do it on facts. It'll have to be on feelings.
I had a debate yesterday with a close mate of mine, Tankiso Makwela, young black guy, very passionate, very patriotic. He went to work in Australia at some point. He's come back. I think he's working in Cape Town currently. He was telling me Cyril was his favorite and he's kind of disappointed. He believes Thabo Mbeki was the best president. He thought Jacob Zuma really was horrible. And part of that conversation we had is a conversation I've had with the gentleman here, Themba Lukele, Scheme GP, and it's a conversation I've had with Gayton McKenzie. Jacob Zuma speaks for a forgotten people who happen to be the majority of this country, for people that believe in democracy, which I don't. You have to ask yourself, if someone is undereducated, doesn't have matric or varsity qualification, wasn't academically talented, wasn't good in sports, isn't good in entertainment, but they still want to contribute in this country where we don't have skills institutions anymore, how do you bring them in? I think Jacob Zuma was trying to follow, I could be wrong. I think he was trying to follow the apartheid Afrikaner model to be inclusive. The problem, sadly, is you're including people that are undereducated, are not skilled, are incompetent, lazy, corrupt. He might be one of them himself, by the way. But he's bringing these people in because he's saying, you guys are forgotten. Because Thabo Mbeki, Cyril, these are the clever blacks. For penning them that study and have qualifications, we love these guys. We get good jobs, everything works. But for the rest of you, you guys are being treated like the stepchildren that no one cares about. You're dirty, come in. This country is for you as well. And unfortunately, some of those people would kind of mess things up. Some of them would expose some of the inequalities. I know people didn't like Tutumieni, but she spoke about SAA being untransformed. Some people didn't like Claudi Mutswaneng at SAPC. But he was, as a patriot, saying, let's play 90% local. Not 90% black, 90% local, and people had an issue with that. I think that's what he was trying to do. But then how it turned out became problematic. I blame Jacob Zuma with all the other ANC leaders for how they've destroyed this country. I do not believe that he was saving it, in my opinion. I think where he could have done things better, if my theory is correct, he should have gone harder in skills institutions. If that could have been his legacy, they were stealing money, catered deployment, all this rubbish, destroying SOEs, but you're like, just like the apartheid government, but you're like, do you see how many more skilled South Africans we have? Maybe they don't work here, they work everywhere around the world. But that was Jacob Zuma. But he also, along with the ANC, failed in that. And I think that's going to be moving forward, one of the conversations we need to have. Do whatever you want with the country, lie to us, be a politician, eat money. But can you raise a young child to be like, this is now an old person who has hard skills and they are commodities in the world? And that's, none of our politicians are speaking to that.
So what everybody's missing in this debate is only one thing will save this country: economic growth. We are at less than 1% economic growth. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes real stupidity to get a country to only grow at under 1%. You have to be seriously stupid. You have to be world-class stupid. In 12 months, put me in charge of this country, I will have us at 5% economic growth. And you know what 5% economic growth means? People get jobs. People invest. Foreigners want to invest in this country. People want to create businesses and make things happen. It's so easy. I can do it in 12 months. But you've got to be seriously stupid to be tracking at less than 1%. And the seriously stupid is Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa.
One of the things you said to me is, if you're to be called a developing country, you must be developing.
Yeah,
and we're not.
It's an active adjective.
And we're not. We're regressing.
We're underdeveloped. We're going backwards. Every state-owned enterprise is dead. And people seem not to want to privatize or sell off state-owned enterprises. But have a look at South African Airways. Who was that dreadful school teacher who was made head of Dudu? Dudu, another Dudu. Dudu Myeni. If you Dudu, that's not a positive, it seems. Dudu Myeni. How the hell did Jacob Zuma think she could transform South African Airways by being head? All she was there to do was to listen to the Guptas about how they could steal. Jacob was handing out gifts. Where is South African Airways today? Gone. Gone. But what has happened? It's been privatization by default. FlySafair, Airlink have stepped into the gap, and everyone's flying around happily. We don't need a state-owned enterprise in aviation or anything else. And a state-owned enterprise under the ANC has been employment agency and not a business. And eventually they go bankrupt. And that bankruptcy has happened in every single state-owned enterprise. So you might as well privatize them anyway.
Two questions. One, do you think you'd be able to solve this dilemma I'm speaking about? The majority of South Africans who are underskilled, undereducated, but also want to be included. And then number two, would you support the apartheid model because they were more in the nationalization game. They industrialized.
I would denationalize.
Do you think they were wrong?
They were wrong.
They should have privatized as well.
Look, they did it. They said South Africa, in order to grow, needs a rail network. No private enterprise are going to build a rail network. We're going to have to do it. In order to grow, South Africa is going to need cheap electricity. No private enterprise is going to do it quickly enough. We'll do it. Okay? And that's how all the state-owned enterprises came about. But there's a certain point at which an intelligent leader says, look, private enterprise is prepared to invest in renewable energy, nuclear energy, small, medium-sized nuclear reactors. Let them in. And we'll denationalize by allowing the private sector in and competing with the state-owned enterprise, and eventually we'll sell off or do public-private partnerships with the state-owned enterprises. And that's the smart way to do it. The stupid way is just to keep it internally and bankrupt them, because then we get load shedding and the country falls apart.
Isn't it just a matter of if the Afrikaner government had kept these state-owned enterprises, they'd still be functional. And it's just because the ANC leadership was incompetent.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a matter of privatization. So I know you believe in privatization, but I need to ask.
I do. Look at Ethiopian Airlines for an example of how that could work. Ethiopian Airlines is owned by the Ethiopian government. Correct. It's a state-owned enterprise. Correct. But it is run like a private enterprise. So the Ethiopian government gave it enough capital to get launched. But they brought in private management team, initially from America, but now it's Ethiopian, to build it as a business. And they basically said that the profits that come out of building Ethiopian Airlines must be reinvested in Ethiopian Airlines. Yeah. So the government doesn't take a dividend or tax.
Sure.
So it's a state-owned enterprise, but run as a private enterprise, run for profitability and success. It's now the best airline in Africa.
It is.
So we could have and should have done that. But there's so many other priorities.
Sure.
You know, employment. South African Airways was not an airline. It was an employment agency.
Sure.
And eventually you bankrupt it.
A lot of our SOEs are run as non-profits. There's no focus on functionality.
Means your tax, Pen, and my tax pays for it, which is ridiculous. I'd rather my tax money went into something that's actually productive.
Sure.
But what we're really all talking about is education. Yeah. This is the biggest deficit of all. Under apartheid, the worst legacy of apartheid was the education deficit. At its worst, white kids were having 18 times more money spent on them than black kids, at its worst, okay? And what happened was we created a generation of undereducated people.
Yes.
Who, by the way, are all our ANC cabinet ministers.
Yes.
They got the bad education, and then they got trained by the Soviets. No wonder we have idiots like Aaron Motsoaledi in government. Get rid of these Madalas.
I like Ndate Aaron, by the way. No, please continue.
He's useless. He's useless. He ran Home Affairs. There were 40,000 unprocessed applications when he left to go and do health. I mean,
Again, yeah. He went back to health.
Moron. What is he going to do there? Push NHI, which is even more stupid. Leon Schreiber, who doesn't like me because I support Gayton, the DA guy, in 3 months processed all 40,000 applications. Why couldn't Aaron do that? Because he's useless and uneducated. He's stupid.
I want to defend the ANC.
No, this is not the ANC. This is an individual I'm attacking. So,
no, I hear you. People speak about legacies. They say, look, Schreiber was just carrying on with the work that Aaron did. I don't know how true that is, because then it becomes political propaganda of we're better than. And
no, a DA is better than the ANC, end of story. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the education deficit has done this country irreparable damage. And you and I had a chat before the interview about Bob Mugabe.
Oh, Robert.
Why are Zimbabweans are the most literate people in Africa?
That's correct.
The education system put in place by the British, continued by an educator, Bob Mugabe, has been a huge success. I mean, the rest of Zimbabwe is destroyed by moronic, ideologies.
Sure.
However, the education system's been a big success. Our education system, under apartheid, disaster for black kids.
Yes.
And under the ANC, disaster for all kids.
Yes.
They're equal opportunity destroyers, the ANC. They've messed it up for everyone. How do we fix that? That's one thing you can't fix overnight, unfortunately. You can fix the economy in 12 months. I can.
Hey.
Not the ANC. But education, what do we do? That's the tough one, because that's generational. And that's my biggest fear, is that we've now got 2 generations of undereducated people who have
unemployable,
no chance.
unskilled.
Well, not unemployable. Unskilled, yes, not unemployable. If you have economic growth, you will employ them.
You'll find something for them to do.
But we have a GNU that doesn't focus on economic growth. It's not going to happen, economic growth. It just isn't going to happen.
Before you speak about the GNU, I want to counter just a bit. Without defending Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, I do believe he's a patriot. I do believe he tries. I think he's limited by many factors, including himself. Sometimes you need to move out of the way and get more energetic people.
Well said.
But one of the things he did tell me in confidence is we've got a huge problem at Home Affairs. I do hope Leon Schreiber can resolve it, because we've got legacies of manual documents that have never been processed. And those backlogs, before we even think about technology and all these things, we just have those legacies that we need to clear out. If Leon Schreiber can do that, it's going to take a miracle.
He'll do it.
He'll probably go down as the greatest Home Affairs minister we've
He'll do
had.
it.
Because then moving forward, at least we'll have all our stuff in databases backed up on maybe Amazon,
How perfect.
clouds,
Yeah.
etc. But I do know that he's passionate and patriotic. I don't know if we'll get a chance today, but I've got huge issues with NHI. And I do know the ANC, etc., have been pushing this thing. And I do think it's a huge mistake. And Aaron Motsoaledi, along with guys like Panyaza Lesufi, are very big on these solutions that actually destroy more than
You and I
fix
agree.
what you're meant to be fixing.
So we have a health system. Fix it.
just fix that.
And because they don't know how to fix it, because none of them have ever been in business, they have no idea. What they say is, well, we're not smart enough to fix it, and we're not prepared to bring in people who are competent enough to fix it. Let's just create a whole new system,
Yes.
which will bankrupt the country. I mean, it's so
And in
dumb.
simple terms for people to know, because a lot of medical aid holders are like, should I cancel my medical aid? The idea, you've got a public health fund from government, which is almost the equivalent of the private healthcare fund, which is from medical aid payers, even though it only serves 10% of the country. What the ANC government has proposed, and what is now an act, no longer a bill, is these people, where they fall short, will be able to use private facilities, but we're going to take money from this money here, which is, it's actually insane.
It's insane.
Okay. Your thoughts on the Government of National Unity, aka the grand coalition between the DA and the ANC?
Yeah, AKA. Firstly, the ANC are better poker players than the DA because they didn't give the DA any ministries that really matter. So the unfixable ministries, like Home Affairs, they gave to the DA, which the DA will fix. And the GNU, which includes the ANC, will take credit for that. The ministries that the DA have do not affect the lunatic Marxist and leftist ideology that's been part of the ANC's ill-educated ideology. So the DA should have trade and industry. The DA should have the ability to knock the unions out of play. The DA...
That's Labour.
Yeah. The DA should have a ministry of deregulation. We've got too many laws and nonsense. Just clear it out. Make it easier to do business and easier to invest.
Is that DOGE in America?
Yeah, it's DOGE.
The Department of Government Efficiency.
Exactly.
Okay. You're calling it deregulation.
That's the role I take.
Sure.
So the DA doesn't have any of those ministries, okay? Agriculture, I mean, big deal, okay?
But agriculture is a big deal. And education.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't change the trajectory of South Africa. It doesn't change economic growth.
Okay.
When the GNU came together, if I'd been one of the leading lights in the GNU, I'd say, guys, come into the room. Let's agree a mission statement. Let's all agree the 10 principles that we stand for and the direction we're heading. Now, if you go onto Biz News a few days ago, there's a cartoon that I did with Dave DeBell.
I saw Rob H there. That couldn't have been you.
That is me.
You're a cartoonist now.
I'm a cartoonist. No, but to be fair, Dave DeBell's the best cartoonist in the country. He's better than that wanky Shapiro, that leftist anti-business.
Shapiro is a legend. You can't do
wanker.
That. You can't do that. That guy's a legend.
Shapiro's a lefty wanker.
Let's keep it moving. Shout out to Shapiro, by the way.
No, stuff Shapiro. Dave DeBell is by far the best cartoonist in the country. And now and again, I have a tune idea. So I write him, I send him a WhatsApp, a tune idea.
Yeah.
You know, vehicle with too many people in it, called the GNU, heading over a cliff, road to nowhere. And somebody saying, shouldn't we have at least agreed the direction first? And they haven't. The GNU, where is it going? Is it a Marxist, Leninist, populist, Gladstonian, liberal? What is it? You know?
We don't know.
We don't know. It's just a bunch of guys in a room with too many cabinet ministers going nowhere.
And we actually don't know what they're trying to solve.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. We don't know if they're speaking economic growth. We don't know if they're trying to fix education. They haven't really said, this is what we will do in education. We don't know what they're doing.
Correct. So if they had a mission statement saying, this is where we believe in together,
yeah,
even if they had to battle it out, and this is where we're going, at least I'd be going, okay, I can go with 7 out of the 10 things I agree with. The other 3 I disagree, but that's good enough.
And let's measure them against
And
these
let's
10.
measure them against it. Exactly right. And then you go to each ministry and say, as per this mission statement, how are you going to achieve that in your ministry? And then we judge them in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
They haven't done that. They're all pulling in different directions. The second problem is I feel I have to get behind the GNU because the alternative is too terrifying to contemplate. And they think that too.
What is the alternative?
The MK and EFF.
It used to be MK EFF, but I'm not so sure anymore about the EFF.
Well, it would be ANC MK EFF coalition.
Do you think the EFF would come in? I mean, looking at what's happening with them currently,
Well,
or would it be ANC
the EFF
MK?
is so irrelevant, they jumped to join just to be relevant because Julius is going to be in the wilderness for the next 8 years.
The thing is, they wouldn't need the EFF. ANC 40, MK 14, that's 54%. You good to go?
Well, it's a bit close, 54, but yeah, you're right.
What did I say?
They could rope
54.
in a few smaller parties like whomever. Herman Mashaba seems to be able to want to jump on any bandwagon right now. He's so desperate to be relevant. So he'd probably join.
If MK joined the ANC, we'd go back to essentially some type of a Zuma presidency. That's the fear.
Oh my God. And that's why the GNU's only real purpose is not economic growth, not fixing the country, not doing the right thing. It's to keep MK out of power.
That's all.
Which is pretty desperate if that's what we're backing. But you know, Gayton said Cyril is isolated. Cyril's dealing with trying to hold the GNU together, okay? And the more and more Bella bills that come up, the more the DA are going to question why they're in there. So Cyril's trying to keep the GNU together, and yet he's got the Communist Party in the GNU.
Yeah.
I mean, how stupid in this modern day and age to even have a Communist Party? How is Gwede Mantashe a member of the Communist Party? I mean, I actually quite like Gwede. I think he's got some right ideas. I mean, he's not very smart, and he's stuffed things up. But to be a communist, Gwede, is the stupidest thing on the planet. Stand up, quit the Communist Party, and be a normal ANC member, and I'll respect you more.
It's his home. I don't think he's a communist.
Yeah,
I think he's a capitalist, but it's just, that's his home. So
But then what a stupid home. Get rid of the home, burn it down.
I think it's just the name more than the
But
substance.
that's embarrassing. Whenever I see people on a plane that have Southern Communist Party on their tracksuit, I go, that must be really embarrassing to wear that. No one seems to want to punch me.
I don't like the DA. I've told you this many
But why?
times.
I think
I can
it's 'cause
answer
you're
you.
a racist. You're a black racist.
That's
Pen.
fine. I'll take it.
No, that's
DA is a
that's
racist
nice.
party.
It's not a racist.
Look, I'll
But that's
tell-
not
I'll-
nice. It's not nice to be a black racist. So I don't want you to be
Great. That's Julius.
that. Oh,
So
Julius.
I don't like the DA.
Why?
One of the things I've said many times is I do think the DA is technically much better than the ANC.
Okay.
In terms of things like service delivery, I do believe they're better. They're not brilliant, but I do think they're better.
It's not
And if-
hard to be better.
Sadly, it's not hard to be better. So I will never dispute that in terms
Okay.
of service
Tick
delivery.
one.
Yeah. But in terms of so many other things that have to do with politics, this country, the economy, I don't support them at all.
Why? But what specifically?
Before I answer that, they've flip-flopped a lot and they've upset some of their supporters. Of course, letting go of Ronaldo Khwezi, he bashes them on Twitter almost every week now.
one guy.
But I know he's also kind of upset because they let him
Yeah.
go. This Bella bill was almost like a do or die. They threatened, again, we're speaking about poker and the ANC being better at poker
Yeah.
players. Because the DA can threaten to walk out and the ANC says, oh, so that the MK can come in? Then Zille and them
I
have
know.
to kind of keep quiet and keep it moving. So the flip-flopping hasn't been nice for the DA. And I don't know if they're currently working on a strategy to try and squeeze the ANC because they marched against the Bella Bill with Solidarity, AfriForum,
PA,
the Freedom
Gayton.
Front, the PA. And yet when things got implemented, all of a sudden they're still there. And you're like, but guys, you threatened. I think they did the same with the NHI. If this thing becomes an act, it has. And still nothing. So the DA's got a lot of work to kind of explain to people what their strategy is. And it's not good enough to be like, well, if we leave, the MK comes in. It's like, then stop threatening things that you're not going to do.
But that's not enough to hate the DA. You still
No, no,
haven't-
no,
You still haven't given me.
I just wanted to
You
mention
haven't given
that.
me a decent reason.
We're not going to agree on this. And these are some of the things that lead to you and I arguing offline, which I don't want us to do on this platform. You're here as a guest, and I need to be a hospitable
So,
host.
Pen, I think you aren't courageous enough yet to join the Springboks. You're getting close.
Sure.
And you, like Vusi, aren't courageous enough to say you actually admire the DA and might vote for them.
I
But you're
don't
getting there.
admire the DA.
Well, you do secretly. You just are a bit of a racist, and that's what it's all about.
That's okay.
It's
So-
not okay. I want you to get
No,
there. I want
it's
you
okay
to
that
admit.
you have. It's okay that you have that opinion. Look, I'll explain because you're asking. The DA has failed to be inclusive. Rassi Erasmus is inclusive. I will bleed and break my knee
You're getting there in the Springboks. I love
for
it.
Rassi.
I love it.
You know, Rassi is a merit guy. He picks the best guy for positions. He engages people. The DA has failed to fully respect some of the non-white members that they've brought on. I do believe a lot of their black leaders were fronts because at times when those black leaders would have differing ideas, they got spat out. I've had Musi Maimani here. I've had Herman Mashaba here. I've had Bongani Baloyi here. I think I've spoken offline with Lindiwe Mazibuko. People have spoken to Pumzile Van Dam. And it's not to say, because there's a huge danger in, I'm black, I'm a black leader in the DA, here's my idea, buy into it, otherwise you're racist. That's incorrect. But it's, can we engage? And if the argument is, look, our funders, our views are not into this, and we're like, but we're trying to create an inclusive country. And you guys don't seem to be doing it. And even when you have the best chance
they are,
to
but
do it.
not enough. So you need to get Nicholas Nyati on the show.
I've spoken to Nicholas, and some of the things he's said as well have made me cringe because these were the things that people like Herman and Musi would say, and then later on, they would change their tune. You've got guys like John Steenhuisen, who Gayton McKenzie has spoken very ill about, and you've got some of the other DA leaders who I've met a lot of incredibly
Have you had
talented.
Helen on the show yet?
Unfortunately not. She's brilliant, by the way.
Please, let's get her on the show.
Helen is one of the few, let's say, non-black politicians that are respected by almost every black politician, by the way. She's
She is
got
a rock star.
incredible substance,
Yeah. Please,
even
let's
if you
get her on the
disagree with
show.
her. But the DS has failed to feel like the Springboks.
Yeah, I
where
agree.
if I come
I
in
agree.
there and I have ideas, I'm like, Rasi, please can he literally listens And he's either willing to try, or when he says no, he says a no that we can respect even if we don't agree with. The DA has failed to do that. Now, on service delivery, they're better.
Yeah.
But they've struggled, like the ANC, like everyone else, they've struggled to win over their home ground. These are your fans. Your Rassi, these are the black fans.
I agree.
Get them to jump on. And in the Western
DA
Cape,
needs a Rassi.
essentially. And John Steenhuisen is not it.
He's not the guy.
Unfortunately. Musi Maimane was meant to be Barack, but Barack was also a bit of a scam in America.
I agree.
Herman
Actually,
Mashaba
I'm glad
was...
you say that. It's hard to say that.
Yeah.
But
Herman Mashaba was sort of something here in Joburg, and then there was a disagreement.
Pen, what about you?
I'm not going to get into politics, and definitely not under the DA. Until the DA gives clever blacks like myself the feeling...
I hate that expression.
The feeling
Clever
of...
South Africans.
We will listen to you, Pen. We will literally see you as human. You must see me and listen to me, because as much as you give me an opportunity, you're a great platform. You're huge. You've got legacy. I'm just a little boy from a school. I'm coming to play for the Springboks. Who am I? Sasha Feinberg.
Where were you at school? Newcastle.
I'm from Newcastle High.
Yeah, you and Alec Hogg.
Yes.
You Newcastle boy.
Best school, best town in the world. Shout out to Alec Hogg and Biz News. These are the boys. But give us a platform and listen. It's one of the reasons I believe Julius is losing leaders, because he's not listening. I think it's one of the reasons Jacob is wooing people. He may do his own thing, but he really gives you a sense of, I will listen to you. Cyril is not listening. Other guys are not listening. And if you're not listening, like parents, I had my son, by the way, my firstborn son, Nkunzi, he's 14. And we sat on a podcast. It's going to come out in a few weeks. And I asked him to give advice to parents, to the camera. And here's one piece of advice is, please listen to your children. If you're not going to listen to your children will rebel. If the DA wants to fix this country, if they do, if they're not just going to be championing the West and America and actually listens, don't action and be like, look, we want to make this country great. This is why we have a white leader here, because this guy can get the job done. We're like, but we want black leaders, and they explain why. And we're like, we don't like it, but geez, this guy's working. Then we can start. But I'm still not getting that sense. And until they do that,
look, I agree with you,
it's not going to work.
I agree. I think the DA is by far the better party. Gayton's by far the best leader.
Yes.
And the bench, as Rassi has shown, is so deep. I think the South African, if there is an A and a B, but let's call it an A and a Z team, both could beat the All Blacks right now. Both.
You're right.
And,
You're right.
And that's the depth of it. This country has incredible depth of all colors and sizes.
Sure. Shapes and sizes.
That's the way to call it.
Pigment of my imagination.
Do you like that?
Sure.
And it's just getting those extraordinary people into those positions. You know, we've got 3 different fly halves. Why can't we have 3 different potential leaders of the DA, for example, whatever shape and size they are?
Because we don't have. It's just Helen Zille, by the way.
Yeah, and she's not in government. She's not in GNU.
Yes.
So I think I think the DA needs to migrate, more shapes and sizes.
They must find a Rassi.
Yeah.
And they must give him free reign, because Saru did that with Rassi. They believed in him, and they gave him some liberty to do some things that weren't done before.
Yeah.
And he's proven it. And even in his first, almost second year, he almost got kicked out as a coach. But he delivered, and he's kept delivering through adversity, even in his personal life. He keeps delivering. And it's like, you can say whatever you want. You can go to any random black racist in this country and ask them what they think of Rassi Erasmus. They'll have nothing bad to say, because the guy delivers. And if a person is delivering, if the DA was doing a slightly better job with the fringe areas, I promise you, every black colored person will be like, I don't care what you say. Helen Zille can be racist. John Steenhuisen can call me whatever he wants to my face. But I can tell you now, I live in a better area than you live in, whoever you're voting for. And that becomes the difference.
Helen's not a racist, I can tell you.
No.
But I know you were using it as an example.
Definitely not saying that.
Pen, here's my thinking. We've got 3 years till February 2027, the municipals and the ANC elective conference. And I said something on Sizwe's show yesterday. He said, haven't you got anything that no one's heard? And I went, I actually do. And what that is it won't be Paul Mashatile, it won't be Lesufi, it won't be Ronald Lamola. They're not going to replace Cyril. If Cyril may be able to stand again, by the way, but it'll be a woman, because he's got 2 in mind. He's looking at 2 different women to replace him as head of the ANC and head of the GNU. I don't know their names yet, but this is news you've heard first. He's considering 2 women.
Naledi Pando's left.
No, she's gone. She was.
I know he believes in Khumbudzo a lot. A lot of people really believe that Ronald Lamola very quietly is being groomed as a protege to take over in the future.
He's young,
in the ANC.
he's dynamic.
And he listens to whatever they say he must do.
Sufi and Paul Mashatile. That's the country going the wrong way. Those are monsters.
Do you have an opinion on why the so-called market, who we read as the West and America and money, why they believe in Cyril so much? Helen Zille's gone on platforms to say, look, at a time when they were arguing with the ANC, they were told, this is the guy, please back this guy more than anyone else. Do you have an idea on why the so-called market believes in Cyril so much?
You know, if you and I had a meeting with Cyril, he would tell us what we want to hear. We'd leave the meeting and going, he's a good guy.
That's the guy.
But then the next person who goes in, a completely different world, Cyril will tell them what they want to hear. And that's all he's good at, is telling you what you want to hear.
Is he a good, I don't want to use the word puppet because that's derogatory.
He's a good puppet,
Is
yes.
is he a good manager for the stakeholders that benefit economically from this country, especially foreign? Maybe it's like, this is the best manager. He understands. He's sort of trying to manage the radicals in the ANC. He gets along well with the sort of white guys. And he kind of understands what we're trying to do.
That's all he is. That's all he is. But he's not the guy that goes, follow me in this direction. He just cabinet, thousands of people, managing everyone, telling everyone what they like to hear. He's just like a...
You've said everything you want to say about the GNU. I've got a new question. You believe at some point the rand might hit 100 rand to the dollar. And I think this also becomes a conversation for cryptocurrencies. I don't know if you want to share anything around that.
So I'm a convert to Bitcoin. I'll explain it really simply because my dad said, Rob, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
So there's a technology called blockchain. And all it is a technology. Okay? And a blockchain is just a digital certification of something being bought and something being sold. If you have a cryptocurrency that is not something you can ever touch and feel, how can I prove that I sold it to you and you bought it from me at a certain price? I can't. I can't write it down or have an accountant say you did it because you can't. It's in the digital world. But the blockchain is the way to do that. I'm not going to explain any more about
Nothing wrong. It's a ledger where people verify within.
Bingo. Thousands of computers verified. Okay, it's irreversible, immutable, and it's absolutely perfect. So what? Here's the so what. For the cryptocurrencies, you've got to have blockchain to prove it exists, it was bought, it was sold at a certain price. And in simple terms, there are 2 blockchains. Okay, this is really simple, so my dad can understand it. There's the Bitcoin blockchain and the everything else blockchain. Okay? The everything else blockchain is Ripple, Solana, Ethereum, Dogecoins, Trump coins, all this.
Oh, the meme coins worth billions.
Anything. All that madness is the everything else blockchain. And then there's a Bitcoin blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain value is 5 times bigger than this on its own. Bitcoin has overtaken the value of silver and is on its way to overtake the value of gold worldwide. Bitcoin. Why is Bitcoin different to all the other cryptocurrencies? Because it was created as a perfect economic model and no human being can change anything. No one's in charge of it. No one owns it. There are no shareholders, no equity holders. Nobody can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to release more Bitcoin. No one can affect it.
I think it's like 20 million or something.
21 million.
21 million.
Right. It's absolutely baked into what it is and what it's going to be. It can't be changed. So what is Bitcoin? Yes, it's a cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell things with it. But what it really is capital, store of value, and the next gold standard. The monetary system is broken.
Yes.
Okay? Countries just print more money. Print. So if you have, let's call them dollars in the bank or rand in the bank, every year the dollar depreciates 7% and the rand by 15 to 100%.
Yes.
Okay? If you have mass inflation, the rand's going to be worth nothing. So having cash in the bank is a negative investment thesis. Okay?
Yeah.
This is how scary it is.
That is correct.
So why would you have cash in the bank? Just buy Bitcoin and leave it. Bitcoin, only 21 million will be produced, mined, whatever
Yeah.
the word is. And it is going to become, it's the only uncorrelated investment opportunity from the monetary system we live in.
So we had the gold standard. Was it Nixon?
Yes,
Then
71.
we went to fiat currency, which is the broken system we have now.
Correct.
And you're saying Bitcoin is going to mimic the gold standard
It's
and maybe even be
uncorrelated.
better
Yeah,
in terms of capturing value for the whole world.
correct. If South Africa was smart, which our government is not, like El Salvador, Bhutan, Thailand, and more countries, we would very quickly shift our gold reserves into Bitcoin.
I wanted to reference Nayib Bukele of El Salvador because
Shout out to him.
he's, besides getting rid of thugs and criminals and gangs, he's added Bitcoin as legal tender. I know another guy who's a favorite of yours, Javier Milei, the leader of
Shout out to
Argentina,
Argentina.
also believes in Bitcoin. I think America also, I've been hearing, they going very hard in Bitcoin as well. It's sad that we become a follower and a chaser, but
True.
that's where we're meant to be going.
Yeah.
Almost like AI and these other technologies. That's where the world is going, and we need to catch up.
Yep.
If not at a government level, then maybe at a personal, corporate, if you have a company,
Yep.
family, community level.
Charity level.
Yeah.
Give a charity Bitcoin, they have to hold it. 5 years' time, it'll blow your mind. So I started buying Bitcoin at $50,000. I almost bought it at 25, and some idiot said it's going down to 20, and I
So
listened.
stay away.
I could strangle him. Idiot, Greg van der Spey.
Don't mention names, though. He was trying to...
No, he's a
Be
clown.
prudent.
Anyway, I started buying at 50,000. It's now at 104,000. It's going to 1 million.
Nah, I saw some reports saying that it's probably going to go to 200,000 during the Trump presidency, but we'll see.
Well, over 5 years, it'll be at 1 million. Over 10 years, at $13 million a Bitcoin.
You guys are,
And
selling, you
I'm
guys
gonna
are
sit-
selling us Bitcoin so you can improve your value.
I'm not going to do that.
Why do you believe in Javier Milei in particular as an Argentinian leader?
I love the concept of libertarianism, small government, efficiency, productivity. Javier Milei, there were 16 cabinet ministers in Argentina. He cut it to 8.
Boss, no deputies.
No minister of women.
No,
No deputies.
We love our women, by the way.
We love our women, but they don't need a ministry.
Yeah.
And he added one more, a Department of Government Efficiency and Productivity, whose only aim is to cut regulation.
Oh, that's where Elon got the idea from, probably, because I know
Probably
he's
yes.
a fan of Javier as well.
Yeah, probably yes.
Okay.
He took inflation from 28,000% down to 2.8% a month, which is still high, in 1 year. And he's creating a country that after 50 years of socialism has absolutely destroyed everything, was one of the richest countries in the world. Socialism has made it one of the poorer countries in the world, which socialism does. That country in 5 years' time will be one of the fastest growing countries in the world. And it's very simple. Libertarian thinking, free market economy. It's the only way forward. And
Libertarian is small government.
Small government.
More private players involved.
Correct.
He's not a dictator. This is democracy.
He's got a minority government.
Okay. Under 50%.
Yeah, he had to form coalitions
Okay.
to get the Peronists out. And that country is flying already in 1 year.
Do you believe in Paul Kagame in Rwanda? You've sent me a picture of you and him having a meeting.
Yeah, I like Paul very much.
Okay.
Look, in 1994, the same year South Africa got democracy, they had their genocide. Okay, Hutus, Tutsis,
The Hutus and
killing
the
each other.
Tutsis, yeah.
That country was destroyed. From there to today, it's now a middle-income country with peace, prosperity. We've gone backwards in 30 years.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
all about government. Now, I know you don't believe in democracy. He is democratically elected. I think it's slightly weirdly defined. But let's say he is a benevolent dictator.
Yes.
It's probably a better description. Okay.
Yes.
He's for the great percentage of the population, he's done the right thing.
He's getting things done.
He's getting things done.
I know he's got some controversies. People are linking him to some of the conflicts in the Congo. Some are trying to link him to Mozambique. Now, this becomes a philosophical and a moral question of if you are in a country where your leader puts you guys first, and part of putting you guys first means he may not be liked in other places, would you prefer a leader like
Yes.
that? Your
Yes.
father may not be the greatest guy out there. not necessarily a horrible guy, but not the greatest. Some people don't like him. They feel like his products are too expensive. He slightly underpays his workers, but your family and society are functioning. Would you rally behind a guy like that?
Let me make it more specific. If Gayton McKenzie was made the benevolent dictator, he'd have to be benevolent, and I believe he is,
Yes.
dictator of this country, I'd back him. Would I back? Who else would I back?
Fikile Mbalula, of course, I know you love him as a benevolent.
Do you know, Fikile and I'm slamming him from day one, but about a month ago, he dissed Jacob Zuma publicly. And I sent him a message saying, Fikile, well done. I thought it was a very brave, courageous, and of great form of leadership. And he sent me a nice message back. So, anyway, who would I want as a benevolent dictator of South Africa? Gayton, Helen Zille, Herman Mashaba, maybe, Musi Mamani, maybe. Vusi Tembakwaya, but he didn't have enough spine right now, much as I love him. Sorry, Vusi, you've got to actually tell us what you believe in. You.
I wanted to ask this question.
I back you as a benevolent dictator.
You're a very generous human being, and I appreciate you so much. I hope in some way I can add value in your life.
You do, Pen.
Not as a puppet.
No, you ground me.
Because I challenge you and fight with you.
Yeah, because I learn a lot from you, and you have a wonderful nature, and I love you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Really a brother.
I love you too,
brother.
and I love your family very much.
I'd go to the end of the world for you. So, and you bring a lot to my life just by being you.
You're a very generous guy, and you've given me a lot of gifts over time. Well, not money.
Well, I want to give you one today.
You brought, thank you so much for that. You brought a book, Manifesto.
Yes.
You were the first person to put me on Sonia Zozibi's radar. And since the elections and even pre-elections, I just wanted to ask, what do you think of Rise Mzansi today, and what do you think of him now? He's been given some position in Parliament. I believe they are part of the GNU as well.
Yeah, he's fundamentally a good guy.
Yeah.
He got a bit ahead of himself. And somebody said something interesting to me. They said, be careful of the black political leaders that white people love.
Yes.
They
that is
really don't understand. They really don't have a chance right now. Right now.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future. I think Zibi's time is yet to come. Musi's time is yet to come.
Yes.
Herman's time is yet to come.
Herman, is there anyone we're missing?
Well, I want to give you this
it's Zibi.
gift, Pen,
Thank you,
because
Rob.
it's a book that some of us in the room...
Debza loves that book.
The Daily Stoic. So I'm not religious. I don't believe in God.
Jeez, okay. I'll pray for you.
Pray for me.
Yes.
But I do believe in compassion and love and goodness.
Yes.
And this is my daily reading, this Daily Stoic. And I'd like to give it to you.
Rob, thank you so much.
And you just open it to the day, have a reading in the morning. And
I appreciate
And I
you.
think you'll see the love and value and sensibility in it all.
366 meditations, which means even on a leap year, there's something to go through.
You got it.
Yeah. I just watched Gladiator 2, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it. Please go see it if you haven't. I don't know if you watched Gladiator 1.
I did.
But yeah, the story of Marcus Aurelius, I think when you speak of Greek philosophy and Stoicism, and it's one of the things you and I shared, because I have to explain to people that besides him being an old geezer, comes from a privileged family, Rob and I have a lot in common. Part of it is minimalism, Stoicism. We believe in the good in people and we want things to work.
Yes.
We may disagree on other things, how and the what, but there are some core things that we believe in. And from me, Rob, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. I don't know if you still have time for me.
Cool.
We can maybe go a bit personal, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Many people may not know this, and it was a conversation I had with a gentleman, I think, on this platform. I don't remember who it was, though. The Oppenheimers and the Hersovs would come into South Africa as a Jewish community, and then later on would become Anglican. Is there a reason to that? Does it have something to do with the women? Because I know you become Jewish because of your mom. Is it that these Jewish timers saw some nice little, Anglican girls, or Christian girls, and then, boom, we have Rob Hersov, who's no longer Jewish? Or did something happen?
Well, my mother's not Jewish, and her family's not Jewish.
Yeah. Therefore, you cannot be Jewish.
Therefore, by law, I can't be Jewish, by Jewish law. But I have a great affinity to Judaism and the Judeo-Christian world. Mm. I think that is the world that has brought everybody freedom, democracy, capitalism, and positive elements.
Yeah.
The other religions, I'm not so sure about.
Jeez.
As you know. No, I'm not. I think
don't mention them. I don't even want to poke you.
I think religion is tyranny.
Yes.
But some religions are more tyrannical than others.
I hear you.
Like some cultures are better than others.
Okay.
Okay?
I think that's good for people to read between the lines.
Yeah. Read between the lines. But I think what happened is, you know, the Hersovs, which I don't know what our name was then, Hershovitz or Gersov, or I don't know really where we came from, Bulgaria, Germany, Russia.
Your favorite place, Russia? Shout out.
So they escaped pogroms and anti-Semitism and terrible things and eventually moved Lithuania, England, South Africa. And I think by the time they came here, they had disconnected with religion. So it wasn't giving up Judaism for Anglicanism, giving up Judaism for Catholicism. It was more moving away from Judaism and being non-religious. I don't think the Oppenheimers are Anglican, or the Hersovs are Anglican. I think some members of my family probably are.
Okay.
I went to an Anglican school, Michael House. I love the hymns.
Beautiful school, by the way. Shout out to Michael House.
Thank you.
I've got an aunt that works there, Auntie Rose. Shout out to
really?
her. Yeah,
you didn't tell me that.
Okay. I don't need to tell you everything.
Do you know it's a farm
Next thing
school.
you're going to dig in my aunt, no.
It's a real farm school. I mean, it's one of the big 5 private boarding schools that's in the middle of nowhere. On weekends, on Sunday, we were sent out to sit at a dam or hide under a tree. And
jeez, you guys didn't even get to go to PMB to see the Huns.
No, we were in the farm school, basically.
Jeez.
It was lovely. But, sorry, where were we? I went off the
Anglicanism.
Oh, yeah. So I think
Michael House being an Anglican school.
Oppenheimer, Hersov, I think they moved on from a religion rather than changing Judaism for Anglicanism.
Okay.
And I think they also wanted to be more part of the country that they had come to.
Understandably.
And the Jewish community in South Africa, I mean, has been shredded. They're leaving in droves.
They're leaving?
Well, because of the anti-Semitism of the ANC.
Of the ANC.
And the Iran-funded, winding up our local Muslim population to be anti-Semitic. And I don't think our Muslim population in South Africa has ever really been anti-Semitic. They've worked well and happily with their Jewish cousins.
Sure.
But the Iranian influence has wound a lot of people up, particularly on this Hamas issue. But I think that can calm down now.
I know I have a lot of Muslim friends.
As do
and
I.
A lot of them are friends with a lot of Jewish guys.
Exactly.
They do work together. They get along.
And that's how it should be.
So that Isreal Palestine thing really polarizes like friends. And it made me so sad because I'd get asked many times, what are your thoughts? I'm like, I'm not on any side.
No, you've stayed out of that one. That was probably quite smart.
I think there's a ceasefire now that is in the process. But I was really upset because some really close Jewish friends of mine were really upset and they felt some type of way. And they also wanted to hear my views. I don't know if they wanted to hear which side I'm on. And I was like, I'm really not going to give my opinion.
You stayed out of it and well done. I think
because I'm here in South Africa. We're here. We get along. So why the hell? You're free, in my opinion, if you've got family or relatives somewhere there, to stand with them. I will not judge you. But you're not going to get me to buy into something I don't know. Even with the ANC government, if Palestine was friendly to them and they feel an allegiance, cool.
Iran.
But also be honest. Be honest about it. And don't say South Africa or the ANC stands with Palestine. That's disingenuous.
Correct.
Be honest that a few of us were mates with. Because I could be mates with George Soros. He helped my family out. He gave a scholarship to my sister. Now next thing I'm like, no, I stand with George Soros and South Africa. No.
But Pen, it's worse than that. Iran, ANC was bankrupt. Iran paid them. In exchange for the payment, they had to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. That's how. You said disingenuous. It's actually malevolent. It's base evil to take money. They're prostitutes. They took money and they provided the service Iran asked for.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyril, you should be disgusted with yourself again. But anyway, let's move on from that for a second. So
I wanted to ask if you have any intel, slightly deep intel on the Anglican Church, because number one, someone who does the research starts seeing some of these powerful families being Anglican. Next thing, we see an Anglican bishop at the coronation of the Zulu king to try and ask if there's any power of the Anglican Church in South Africa. Does it have anything to do with Anglo-American, Anglo-Saxon?
Zero.
It's just coincidental.
That's a conspiracy theory in the making that has no grounds. It's like a Stellenbosch mafia. It doesn't exist, I swear. Or the Rothschilds control the world. The Rothschilds haven't been relevant for 50 to 100 years. Sorry, for 50 to 70 years.
You really believe that?
I know that. I know the Rothschilds.
You don't think they've infiltrated in various ways?
No.
We're just keeping them alive because we like having some bad guy somewhere.
Correct.
Okay.
But none of that exists. It's honestly, and also that the WEF control the world's narrative. I mean, guys, no one's.
Klaus Schwab.
Oh, I've met Klaus Schwab. He's an okay old guy that set up a pretty good conference. But none of these things exist.
Your personal opinion. I don't know if you want to speak about the lion cage. I'm not sure how niche and private it is. You come from a family of incredible men. Sadly, some deemed controversial because of their good relationships with certain governments that people may not have liked.
My family.
Your family. So let's say during apartheid, your father, grandfather got along with,
They didn't.
as a business person.
They didn't.
Okay.
My grandfather had no advantages whatsoever in competing with Afrikaner business people, English business people, Jewish business people. He had no advantages.
Yeah.
He just had to rely on his skills and aptitude. And he never had any deal, any arrangement with the government. He was a pure businessman.
Do you think we should be speaking more about the Hersovs and Penuels and the work they've done in this country? Because people don't speak about it as much anymore. You guys become like the Rothschilds as this shadow group somewhere.
We're not as rich. I think the Penuels were more active politically, and the Penuels were more activists than the Hersovs. We just kind of got on with building businesses and staying out of the political sphere.
But should we be telling the story, at least from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think it's old. It's gone. Only the older people remember the Hersov name and the Penuel name.
Shouldn't we tell that story?
No, I think it's
why not?
Is it that interesting and exciting?
Could it inspire people?
I think Bob Hersov was an incredible businessman. He died at age 57. If he'd kept going, he would have been richer than any South African that ever lived. Died at age 57.
He was a beast.
He was just an incredible businessman.
Did you get to meet him?
No, he died before I was born.
Jeez.
And on his last day, he was the first South African to have a private plane.
Hey!
It's an old Dakota.
Hey!
He was the first South African to have a private yacht. Okay, now yachts these days are 70, 80 meters.
Grandfather was
But his was probably 20 meters, which was huge in those days. And he'd had it built and designed in America, brought out to South Africa. He flew down to Cape Town, and the boat was called Khwezi. I'm trying to find a picture of it. Oh. And Bob Hersov went out for sail in Khwezi around the Cape, came back, went to his room at the Mount Nelson and died.
Jeez.
It was his last day. And he was 57. I'm 64, and I haven't achieved anything like he's achieved. If he'd lived to 80, he would have been the greatest businessman, the most wealthiest businessman that ever lived.
How did you guys manage to preserve wealth for so long? I'm honored to have met Alex, by the way.
We haven't.
Okay.
We haven't. So the only way to preserve wealth is to be in a dollar-based country, because the dollar depreciates less than any other currency. Or dollar-based wealth, and to only have one child, preferably a son. So the Oppenheimers...
This is not a joke.
It's not a joke. Ernest had one son, Harry. Harry had a son, Nicky, and a daughter, Mary. And then they had more children. And wealth, the Chinese say clogs to clogs in 3 generations. And the main reason is the first generation builds it, the second generation maintains it or grows it.
If they can.
And the third loses it. Because by the third generation, you've got lots of heirs or heiresses and a lot less hunger.
True.
And the biggest challenge for me as third generation was to be hungry and driven. And I think my dad did a good job because he said to us children, I'm not going to give you anything other than the best education known to man. So take advantage of it. He said, I don't know where the country's going. I don't know where the company's going. I don't know where our wealth is going. But you've got to know, you've got to make it yourself. And people say, oh, Rob Hersov is just a trust fund baby.
Of course.
My parents are still alive. I haven't got a trust fund yet. Maybe I'm going to get a big one at some point if they ever pass away. But I don't have one.
Yeah.
So they've given me some opportunity, no question.
Yes.
And education, and I've made the rest myself.
Is this advice you've given Alex and the rest of your kids?
Yeah. Well, I've told them, I'm not giving you handouts.
Yeah.
Go sort yourselves out. If they run into a bit of trouble on rent for 3 months, I'll pay their rent just to get them up and running. But then they've got to pay their own. So yes, they have advantages no one else has, but they're not handed a wad of money. And both are driven. They're both hungry.
One of the greatest dollar-based country have one
have
son.
Only one child, one
Johan
son.
Rupert has one son. I know his son is kind of taken over. He's got more.
His dad had
Anton.
when his dad had 3 kids, Johan, Anthony, who died,
Yes.
and Hanneli, the daughter. And they all have children. But Johan has been a massive wealth creator.
Yes.
So his father built it. Johan has been a massive wealth creator.
I saw they just divested from BAT. Sorry.
Yeah, they're out of killing people with smoking.
Sorry.
No,
And then
Johan
his son is taking over now.
Johan's maybe the best businessman Africa's ever produced.
Ever. On the African
He's the
continent.
wealth. I think Natie Kirsch might be richer.
I think Natie Kirsch
richer
might
than
be
Johan.
the best businessman on the continent.
Okay, Natie's number 1, Johan's number 2. Strive Masiyiwa number 3.
More than Aliko Dangote.
Yeah, because Aliko operated within Nigeria only.
Okay.
So he got all the favors from politics.
Strong.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Strive has competed internationally. He's built, and he was not loved in Zimbabwe. So he built his business in Zimbabwe and he expanded across Africa and worldwide. He's probably my number 3 best African businessman.
Interesting. But Natie Kirsch, at least we agree.
Yeah, I think Natie number 1.
I got to see him for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I want to give a shout out to mutual mate, Howard Saxton, who invited me to the Absa Jewish Achievers Awards, and he went in hard.
What a speech.
Yeah, on what the Jewish nation has done to
You're
both
more
South
Jewish
Africa.
than I am, man. So you've got to know that.
I'm getting invited to these things, man. Where we, I love the Jewish community, and I love the fact that when you meet people from the Jewish community and you get along, they give you immediate love.
Yeah.
That's something to be really appreciated. There's a piece of advice which I fully agreed with that you gave me, and I'd like you to share it again now. I asked if you'd like your children to be in the same business you're in and do what you do. And you said to me, the number 1 thing I tell my kids is I want you to be able to present yourself, tell a story. So even with the little guys, come tell me what happened at school. Tell me a story, because it doesn't matter what industry they're in. If they can sell, if they can tell a story, it's most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So I met 2 days ago an old bishop's boy. I live in Cape Town. Ben Anderson, who was head boy of bishops last year.
Brilliant.
But he won the World School Public Speaking Competition 2 years ago.
Jeez.
Now, to me, that's the greatest achievement, ahead of being rugby captain, ahead of being 9 distinctions. That, to me, is the greatest achievement of all.
Why?
To be able to stand, because it's 4 categories. One is the prepared speech. One is the unprepared, where they give you 5 minutes and they say, here's your topic. You've got to speak for 10 minutes. Yeah, you've got to read. The third is a narrative. You get given a piece of literature and then you have to act it out with accents and things.
Jeez.
So it's more like acting.
Yeah.
And then the fourth is debating, 1 against 1. To me, those 4 categories, prepared, unprepared, narrative, dramatization, and then debating, are the greatest skills you could ever have. Followed by reading, writing, arithmetic, and STEM subjects.
You need to explain further. I know this, but people are like, yeah, we hear you, but what will speaking do for me? I don't get it. So I can debate, I can speak, I can do unprepared, but how does that impact the real world?
When you meet someone and you want to make an impact on them, that's the greatest way to make it. They'll walk away going, I want to see that guy again. Or I really have to hire that person in whatever role. They are so smart and presentable, so wise.
You've never said it to me, but I know for a fact it's one of the things you agree with, that the greatest wealth lies in human beings. That's why your network is so deep. And to what you're saying, the ability to effectively communicate, capture your audience, make them want to listen some more, immediately gives you access to their whole world. And it's that.
And you know why Gayton's so extraordinary is he doesn't deny his background.
Yes.
He doesn't deny who he is, where he's from, what he is today. He's honest about it. And people say to me that, you know, obviously I can talk about GNU and ANC and blah, blah, blah. But when I talk about personal stuff, my success, my failure, my weakness, my strengths, I take a Zempic, my wife's got me under control, stuff like that. They like that because it makes me human.
Yes.
And the head of the IFP,
Velenkosini Hlabisa.
exactly, Hlabisa, spoke at the business conference and he had a prepared speech, which was dreadful and boring and predictable. And then he put his speech down and he spoke from the heart. And then you saw the magic of that human being. What an extraordinary man he is. And in many cases, people are too scared to go out of the boundaries of the prepared speech or what you're allowed to say. And when they talk from the heart, you then understand the person. And often it's wonderful stuff that comes out. Even Julius,
Yes.
If
When
he
he
stopped
speaks
the
off the
populist
cuff.
madness, if
Yeah.
he just said, I used to cry when my granny, my gogo, read me this story, my heart would feel for him. I'd say, okay, he's human after all.
Sure. And Gayton is brilliant at that.
And Gayton is who he is.
The lion cage, investing in businesses, money, capitalism, what we should be doing. What does the lion cage do?
So I get hundreds of opportunities a day, people sending me stuff, and I can't cope. I can't read it. And I'm no longer able to process all that information.
Yeah.
So Gerrit Steenkamp
Shout out to Gerrit.
and Hans Otterling set up as a kind of adventure capitalism, a mad idea during COVID, profile one company a week, and people want to invest, they invest. But Gerrit has done such a good job professionalizing that every deal I get, I just send to him. I don't even read it. I just send to him. And he has an extraordinary ability to have a look at it, analyze it, see if it has potential.
Yeah.
He's got this beautiful systematic process of doing it. And then chooses a company a week, and we profile that every Thursday evening.
Brilliant.
And that's really, if you send me deals, I just send them to Gerrit.
And shout out to Hans as well, by the way. Shout out to Dylan McKenzie. I can't forget Dylan. Dylan was the first contact guy that linked the two of us.
Dylan's lost 25 kilograms.
Brilliant. Better looking than you, younger, more charismatic.
Nicer smile.
I would say this all the time when I meet you guys, that you're just my gateway to chill with Dylan. So shout out to Dylan McKenzie. Okay. Is there anything I missed out?
Well, Pen, let me ask you, how's life? How's your wife? How's kids? When are you coming to Cape Town?
On a platform. My life is relatively good. I'm blessed and I'm grateful. I've got amazing human beings around me. I've got amazing friends and family like yourself that support me in various ways. It's just a message. Keep doing your thing. Don't agree with this, but it means we're connected, and it means you want me to be better and you want us to be better. So that means a lot to me. My mom is amazing. My brother and my sister are amazing. My kids are brilliant. I was with 4 of them these holidays. There's 3 I'm kind of struggling to see, and it's a conversation I've been having on platforms, which has upset a lot of people, but it's brought a spotlight on fathers that are struggling to access their kids. I'm lucky that my skin has become very thick, so I don't feel the way other people feel, even when I get attacked. I'm still positive about the future. Part of that positivity was the ANC losing their 50%. Yep. I hope they lose more power because they are still arrogant. And now that they outmaneuvering the DA, I guess it's making them more arrogant instead of humbling them. Yeah. I'm interested about the EFF because I voted for them in 2019, and their arrogance from there and the fact that it's deflating now also gives me hope, because it means, when people vote with their feet or with their hands, it's something like that. It's like whatever rubbish you were saying, people are not really buying into it. So there's still hope. The Springboks are still one of my greatest analogies. Obviously, I'm sorry about Tusia and Rachel splitting, and I think Rassi also went through a divorce as well. But they still give people a lot of hope. I meet a lot of talented people. I'm hoping at some point I can have the balls. I do lack them. I lack the balls and I lack the discipline to actually get my hands more dirty.
On what?
On pushing this country where it should be going.
Are you making money? Are you making money though? Separate question.
Not making money.
You're not?
No.
So you're struggling to make ends meet?
No.
But you've got cash in the pocket?
Not struggling to make ends meet. No, the ends are meeting.
Okay, good. We like ends meeting.
Before we speak about money, because money is important, myself and the team, Tebza, Tebucho Kibine, Sizwe Dube, Khomutso Morobe, who's meant to be here, Exorcist Kalamin Tutuokaba, my brother Penson Lojo got to visit Orania, which was brilliant. We had conversations there. US Trade Home, Karel Boshoff. Got to visit a lot of Afrikaans schools last year, got to meet a lot of Afrikaans people, obviously spent some time with the Jewish community, Black people. There are so many progressive Black people who are not seen, not known, but they're doing amazing work. They're not ANC, they're not all of this.
They're South Africa first.
They are waiting for Rassi Erasmus's. And by the way, Rassi isn't a white guy. It's a human being who is just brilliant at bringing people together and getting them to work. So I'm very happy, and I'm appreciative of you asking this question, because out of everything else, if a person's not okay, you could be a billionaire but dying inside, then what the hell is the point?
Yeah.
So thank you. I'm not making money, and I've been having a lot of epiphanies. Part of it is I'd like to think I'm a capitalist, but I'm not. I think I'm more into Ubuntu, and it holds me back. Ubuntu is a beautiful philosophy, but you cannot build progressive, brilliant things with that. Because what Ubuntu says, for people that don't understand, is if I make 200 Rand, I go in and give it to all my family members, including the lazy ones, because I have humanity. Whereas a capitalist says, look, I know my family is struggling. I'm going to take the 200. I'm not going to give it to them. I'm going to go and invest it in something and grow it to 5,000.
Correct.
And after growing it to 5,000, I'm going to tell my family members, if you want a piece of this money, go upskill yourself.
Correct.
You don't love us. You don't care about us. You can call me whatever name, but this is what it's going to take.
Correct.
So Ubuntu
It's almost
has...
lead by example.
100%.
Yeah.
So Ubuntu, I had an epiphany even just yesterday. I struggle with delegation and outsourcing certain work because I am too much of an empath. So if I end up making 50,000 Rand, if someone invested 1 million, my whole focus would be like, I need to give this person their money back or grow it for them. Instead of being like, take this money and run, build this thing. They will get their dividends over time. Don't rush to give them, grow this damn thing, whatever it is. But because I'm too much of a humanist or humanitarian, if I hire a domestic worker, I keep wondering, is she okay? Am I overworking her? Should I pay her more? Where some people, and I have to appreciate India and Nepal and those areas, their culture, which some may see as exploitative, they believe in hard work to achieve their ends. And they become easier tools to build things than South Africans who are into labor unions and fair wage. You like, forget your Springbok salary. Forget the fame. Just go to gym, work hard, bleed on the field. The benefits will come. But if every day Sia and Peter Steff and Cheslin are like, but Rassi, we need higher salaries, we're never going to fucking build anything. So they have a great work culture, and we don't have that here. And I worry every time I'm with someone, am I underpaying this Koko? Am I treating this man bad? And I end up overpaying, underworking. And then we don't build. And that doesn't allow you to actually scale.
So Pen, I've got something, a real world example.
Hit me.
I've invested in a too good to be true opportunity. And I won't mention the numbers.
Yeah.
But if it pays off, it'll happen in the next few days. And it's a ridiculous amount of money. Ridiculous. And if it happens, I said to Katie, look, let's not, count our chickens. But putting philanthropy aside and money in the bank for the future of children, blah, blah, don't you want to spoil yourself on just something?
Yeah.
And she said, well, I'd like to redo the house. Because we have a beautiful house. But
Stunning.
she's got things she wants to do to redo the house. And then she said to me, what do you want to do? And I said, I only really want to do two things. I want to throw a really, really great party.
Your buddies are crazy, by the way.
You're definitely on the list. A really mad, fun party and get all the top, Zakes, Kifness, get all the South African musicians to play, invite all my buddies and just go mad for like 2 days. And then I want to pimp my ride. So I've got it. I don't care about possessions, but I actually quite love my car. I've got an FJ Cruiser.
Come on.
Do you know what an FJ Cruiser is? There's like 99% of FJ Cruiser owners are Afrikaners. I'm on an FJ Cruiser squad group. It's all in Afrikaans. And these guys are hilarious. They're showing like how steep a FJ Cruiser, how many rocks it can go over. So I've actually given my FJ Cruiser in advance to this guy, Doug Ashman in the Cape, and he's going to pimp my ride. He sent me a picture, pimping in process.
Hey.
And I want flamethrowers and horns and LED lights and giant wheels. And that's all I want to do. That's it.
I hope
Isn't that childish?
I hope you make the money. Childish can be very good in a situation like this. Money
happy.
well earned, and enjoy it.
Thank you.
But yeah, the money conversation is one that I've been grappling with for a long time because I know a lot of people with money. I keep trying to figure out how to add value to them because I don't want them to give me money. I want to add value and then be compensated for the value. How do I add the maximum value and make sure that I get whatever value that I put in? But in the same breath, I look at Jacob Zuma as an example. I look at people like Sadhguru. I look at Nelson Mandela. These guys were not money guys, but they had money around them. And if they wanted things to get done, you want to have the type of friends. Now, assuming you have good intentions, the type of friends that you're like, look, I want to build a school. I don't have the money. I can go fundraising, but would you be willing to invest in this? This is what's going to do. We're going to name it after you, or we'll have a hall named after you and we do that work. Because the other problem is I don't really like money. I just want to get things done. And the not liking money is another reason I don't, because I don't attract it in that way. So it's Ubuntu, and I don't attract money. I just want to do the work.
But
so
then
I'm
you want
that
all
out.
your friends to be billionaires?
Not all of them, but it would be nice to have some billionaire friends. Yeah.
And then to call them now and again, so I'm trying to get a school finished and have them send the money. Boom. And that's perfect.
And I'm
how
happy.
good is that? How good is that?
The making the ends meet for me is too easy because I'm a minimalist. My life is extremely cheap. I'm not extravagant. I don't care about things. So I don't need money to buy a mansion or to have an FJ Cruiser or Lamborghinis, etc. So yeah, those are the things.
What I enjoy most about flying economy class on FlySafair, I do get the aisle seat though.
I get the aisle seat.
Chatting to people who sit next to me.
Sure.
I'd love it. Katie always says, "Who did you meet on the plane coming down?" And I explain this person that I met and chatted to. I love it. I actually enjoy the whole process of meeting people and chatting to them. And
as we close off, Rob, I want to thank you on behalf of all South Africans, even the ones that claim they don't like you, because you've made an impact in some way, even if it was jolting them to just think, to consider. There were a lot of haters when you came out with the first Business News conference speech, and you've won also. You've won a lot of hearts. A lot of people, even when they disagreed with you, started seeing some of the things you were saying. And over time and over platforms, people have slowly gotten to know. I don't know if you watch The Avengers, Tony Stark has a heart. People are learning that you actually have a huge heart. You do not need to be here. It's one of the things a lot of people don't understand. You do not need to be here at all. You don't need to be making noise. Correct. You don't need to be speaking about where this country should be going. You don't need to be getting attacked, but you're doing it. And that becomes activism. And they may not say it. A lot of well-off people, specifically some of certain shapes and sizes.
Shapes and sizes. Love that.
A lot of them are jealous. Yeah. A lot of them are inspired. And it may take a bit of time, but they're going to come out. And I hope when they do start coming out, they'll be like, I remember when Rob was saying, you're like, it was that. You're like, he got attacked, but I saw what happened. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't keep quiet as well. Maybe I should say something.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you, Rob. I don't know if you have anything else to say before we close.
Other than I love you and I love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Rob Hersov, thank you so much for joining us.
And everyone on the show, hit like and subscribe. You need to subscribe.
Hey, thank you.